There's something magical about living in the forest. Something that we have wanted for a long time, but we were able to achieve only recently. Hello friends, and welcome to another Wednesday Quickie, a production of the Urban Homesteading channel. If this is the first time that you are visiting our channel, we want to wish you a very warm welcome and invite you to view any of our over 500 videos in playlists, as we are certain that you're going to find something both entertaining and useful to watch. If you have been here before but you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do subscribe. If today is your birthday, we want to wish you a very happy birthday. Ever since we purchased the homestead, I've been in a very small scale experimenting with solar. We have put two solar panels, small solar panels with lights in the shop, and I've been very impressed with their performance. In days with storms, in days with zero sunlight, and actually the solar panels do not have direct sunlight, but maybe for about 30 minutes in each day because we live in the forest. The lights operate beautifully, it charges every day. For 2 days actually I discharged, I had the light on the whole night, and the next day I still have full power and enough light for many hours. I went to bed after 6 hours of darkness, I guess is what I want to say, and the light was still bright, and the next day it charged again. So I've been very impressed with the performance of those lights. And also I'm thinking I'm going to put one of them with two extra, right, Ms. Wizard?
Yeah, and you know, they weren't really expensive high-end type solar lights either.
Right. So what we're going to discuss today is my plan to very slowly start experimenting and transferring things into a solar power system and move away from the grid. So this is one of the solar lights and solar panel in one that we have installed in our shop, and something I've been extremely pleased with. I've really enjoyed it. It has a motion sensing, so at night it has throughout the night a soft light, what you would call them night lights, which are those two lights. Yeah,
it remains on just to give you an indication that there's a small amount of light there.
And you can see it to get there. Mm-hmm. And then the moment you read closer, this is a very bright light. Immediately comes on, it has not failed yet, and we have installed that what? Ever since we had the shop, right? 2 months or how long it's been. So this gave me the notion that I would like to experiment more with solar, and I'm going to put a link up here for you guys to see more about this light. And also a couple of weeks ago we installed a weather station that is also solar powered, and we have had zero problems with it. It keeps the batteries fully charged. So every day it recharges, at night it keeps recording and transmitting. I've never had any interruption of power. So we decided to go to the next step. Now many people will say, okay, why don't you go to a big solar system? And the reality is I don't want to do that for two reasons. The first is I need to learn more. I don't know enough about solar. And the second is you don't really want to spend a few $1,000s to have your house solar, in case this is not what you want, or in case you don't know how to do it, or all kinds of things. Learning is there, right? Don't you agree? Mm-hmm. So here is our weather station, and it's solarly powered. We've used it for 2 weeks, and I've had zero complaints. It always keeps full power. It keeps its battery charged, and it has never lost signal. So that was one of the reasons I got more interested in solar, and we really enjoy that. And as you can see now, we have a little bit of wind. Again, having a storm, you would think we'll have much more wind. And you can see the trees moving up there, but because of where we're located, we are this is probably the highest rate of movement I've seen out of this device. So we'll see if the storm comes and it is much stronger, what the outcome will be. Here in the shop you see two small solar panels, much smaller than the one that we are doing for this experiment. And the top one is actually feeding a battery. Sorry, the top one is actually feeding a light that's in the middle of the shop, and the lower one is the one that you'll see next to my solar panel, and it is just a motion detected and light sensing device that when it is dark it automatically senses me and turns the light on, so I have access to my shop. These have worked flawlessly for 2 months now, and really they gave the genesis of the idea of continuing some experimentation with solar powering. So far I've been extremely impressed. And as you can see, here is actually another little solar panel. I don't know if you can see it. I'll go inside and show it to you. Which is actually sitting just on the window. It is another light, and I'll show you how good that. Here we're in the shop, and you can see the light that I have in the middle of the shop, and it works with a remote control, but I cannot turn it on as long as there is any light around, so I cannot demonstrate that to you. But this one, again, its charger is right here, and this one you can see it's charging, but it has a switch, so I can actually turn it on. And you can see it is nice and bright. I use it for light when I need light, but my main one doesn't want to work because it is actually too bright outside. And you can see even with this very little light, this is actually charging. Again, this has never been anywhere but this window, and I have never had any problems using the light for many hours, which again gave me the genesis of the idea, how about if I was to power many things in the shop using solar lights instead of other lights. Monocycling, monoplicing actually, not monocycling, solar panel. And you can see in the back that even in the little light I wave here, it is actually charging. Mm-hmm. So let me show how you see that little, it is off now. You see that little light?
Yep.
That tells us right now the panel is not charging, but you can see as I turn it, it will start, as I turn it towards the light. Mm-hmm. Now it is generating power. Now I'm sure it doesn't generate a lot of power right now. It is hard by myself to actually show you by putting the multimeter on that it actually generates power. We will try, I don't know, is it? Well, we won't be able to do this. So we enlisted the apprentice to hold the solar panel, and he's holding it facing directly on the window, and Miss Wizard is holding the two leads of the multimeter in her hands. She was holding it, now it is off again. And here is the multimeter showing you 3.67, 3.69 volts that this generates indoors, just getting light from the window. There is no direct sunlight here, nothing, right? And I know this is not impressive, but if we were to go outside, you would see a significant increase in solar power. See now, nice storm. You can see now it reads 19.1513, and the connection is not great because again Mrs. Wizard is holding it by hand, and you see there is no sunlight, there is no direct sunlight anywhere here, but the apprentice is holding the
solar panel.
The solar panel just outside. You can hear a thunderstorm in the background, so you know that this is probably the worst case scenario. This is not correctly attached. It is almost about to rain, but we're getting about 19 volts of power. So in direct sunlight we'll probably get much more, definitely we'll get some more. So you can see that these have come a long way. They're much more efficient than they ever were before. Also, one of the things that I failed to mention is that I've yet to take the protective plastic off the panel, mm-hmm. which means we're losing efficiency. So what you saw here, 19 volts in a stormy situation without sunlight, with mist without holding it, which means we're losing efficiency there. Lu, you know, we're losing efficiency there. Is not ideal, and yet the panel was charging. A couple of things I want to point out. This panel happened to have a USB port there, which means even without a battery or a controller, you can have power output directly from the panel, just using the panel itself, which can be very useful. In order to create a system, you need to have a charge controller, and we have an inexpensive charge controller here. And what that allows you to do is, this charge controller has two USB, which means you can charge any USB device here, you know. And also, it has a panel connection, which goes on the first two screws, a positive and a negative. It has a battery connection, which I don't have yet, so I cannot show you that, but you'll store a battery, so even at night when you have zero production, like if the panel has no light, we'll have no production, right? You can use electrical power, and this is a load, which means you can go through a load directly from this device or through the battery, depending on what you want to do and what your needs are. So a device like that will be useful. These devices, the entry-level ones like this, can be had for about $10–15. A more serious device really goes up to maybe $90, $100, $110. So I'm definitely starting with something like this, and I will recommend with something like this, because if you do something to damage it, you're not out a couple of $1,000s, right? And if you wire this incorrectly, you will damage it. For example, you must always wire the battery first. That's why I cannot do many tests right now, because I don't have a battery. And once you wire the battery, then you can wire the controller. Part of it is that if you have power coming into the controller but no way for the controller to distribute the power, it can actually overload and self-destruct. So you will need the controller, you will need the panel, you will need the battery. This came with a set of what you will call this clamps to connect to a battery, and pretty much that's all you need. My plan with this, what I would like to do to start with, is to have this system, create a small system with a small battery to simply charge all my wireless batteries. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I don't have to spend money. I don't feel like spending money on paying the electrical company doing that. And by doing that, by having the batteries charged, in other sense, I get free use of my wireless tools. And with our use, we use our tools, but we don't use them on a daily basis. We're not a production shop. I feel this will be more than adequate to keep my battery charged throughout. I'm going to install it in the shop. I will probably make an episode to show you how this is going to happen, and I will definitely tell you how my data came along, how it seems like it is working for me. What is my impression? This panel feels really good. Wouldn't you agree? I know you held it, but
yeah, it's a nice size. I mean, for its size and you know, the lightweight and everything, it certainly does generate quite some power. And
I did the other day tested it with a multimeter on sunshine, not direct sunshine, but the sun was shining, so the color of the light was different, and it generated 30 volts. So, but 20 volts, 19, in the conditions we have right now, to me is a very good indication from one panel. One of the neat things about solar systems, definitely about this solar system, is that you can add more panels and increase the capacity, right? You can connect them in series to increase the outcome, or in parallel to increase the voltage, you know, the amperage or the voltage. In electricity, you have more components. So this system that I have now is a 12 or 24 volt system. So this is a 12 volt panel. So if I wanted to put 24 volts, but I will have to connect two panels together, right? Mm-hmm. And then the more panels you connect, depending on if you connect them series, parallel, or a mixture, you can keep the same voltage but actually increase the output, how many amps you get. This controller can handle up to 20 amps, I believe. Let me check. yeah, 20 amps and up to 60 volts. So with two panels, we can have 60 volts. Is one panel give us 30? Does it make sense? And 20 amps is plenty of power to run virtually every tool I own, as long as I have a converter that supports it. For example, the table saw is 1750 watts. I don't have a converter. My converter is 750 watts, which will run a lot of things, not only the batteries, but lights and all kinds of things, but definitely cannot run my table. So it will run a powered drill though. So let's talk costs. A similar panel to this and a very similar controller on Amazon is $49, which means that if you want to buy just the panel, it will be around $40 or so. The charge controller is $10 to $11, which you can see it's a fairly economical system to double or triple capacity, right? You're not going to spend a lot of money. And it's amazing how small they've become these days. For 100 watts 10 years ago, you will need something the size of our table. And now it is that small. Where should you put it? For the best, for the maximum output that you will get out of this, it will be best to put it on a direct sunlight position, right? Either on your roof or in the ground in some form of frame. And there are a lot of solar places around the homestead, and most people, I think the industrial level, people that have a lot of panels, put them on the ground in a 45-degree angle, looks like, on frames, right?
Yeah, they're slanted. You can see them all facing the same direction.
And the direction is depending on your property. You want the most sunshine you can get on them. Again, my experience so far with the small units like this is that I don't have them in direct sunshine at all, but they provide enough for what I need. They give me everything I need. So the idea with this is not to run everything on the solar panel, but I'm starting with just my batteries, right? If I can keep my batteries charged and the fan on to keep the shop from getting stagnant, I will be good. I will be very happy with that outcome, right? And then if that works, in a few months time, we can add another panel if we want to and see go further, right? I have a 750 watt inverter, which is plenty for what we want to do, and I will get a battery. So for 700 watts, and the reason why you want to use a battery is because you're not limited by the wattage output of the panel. So even though the panel is only 100 watts, I can actually generate up to 750 watts through my battery. Does that make sense?
Like store it up for later? Yeah.
So I will connect it to the battery versus the charge controller load, so I can get more wattage, because the charge controller load will not go that high. And if I need more, if I need to run my soap, for example, I will have to purchase a 2000 watt converter. My current converter will not do it, but it will run things like drills and lights and maybe a coffee maker, a radio, you know, things of this nature will be no problem. And as I see my needs increasing, if we see this doesn't work, we stay here and we have not spent money, right?
Right.
But if we see that we like it, then it will make worth to invest on a couple of more panels and a better inverter. Wouldn't you agree, Miss Wizard?
Definitely. And as we learn more and experience, you know, things and do some more research, we'll be expanding our solar usage.
So I'm going to create a new playlist named Solar, and I want to take you through this journey. I'm not going to be making solar videos every week, but I will make them with some frequency. I'm going to get the battery and I'm going to show you how to connect everything and so forth. So if you're interested in solar, follow along, hit the subscribe button, and we're going to take you on a journey that we go and ultimately tell you, as always, does it worth doing or not? Well, friends, this concludes our Wednesday Quickie, and we do hope you did enjoy this episode. We're very excited about our potential gains with the solar system. And from the garage, I keep doing that. From Dr. Wizard, Mrs. Wizard, The Apprentice, and the Urban Homesteading Channel, we wish you a great and safe week. Wash your hands, put your mask, and we're going to see you soon. Farewell, friends.